Second bow. Third bow.
3 bows to Shifu Zhihan. First bow. Second bow. Third bow.
Okay, please be seated. Okay, please put your palms together and we read together. Homage to the Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the Buddha Shakyamuni. Okay, and then we'll recite 3 times. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Okay. Good evening, everyone. And this is the second lecture of the 37 Factors of Enlightenment. Last time it was actually a summary and also to give you a structure of the entire 37 Factors of Enlightenment, to give you an idea of the totality of the 37. These are the 37 factors that we need to practice in order to purify our mind and then attain enlightenment. And the backbone or the vertebrae of the 37 factors of enlightenment is the Noble Eightfold Path. And there's a very special relationship between the right view, right energy, and then right mindfulness. These 3 are like the triads that must influence our intention, our thoughts, our speech, our action, and our livelihood. Right? And then by practicing all these 7 will lead us to accomplish the right concentration. Right? Now, we already moved into the mindfulness of the body. And remember that mindfulness of the body is the first factor in the 37 factors of enlightenment. The practice starts from the body and it comes to fruition, consummation, perfection through the understanding of the body. Understanding what? Understanding the impermanence, the suffering nature of the body, the non-self, and also the impurity. the nature of impurity of this body. And we started reading and explaining the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 119, the discourse on the mindfulness of body. And I've read this part, and I read the part on breathing. Okay. The mindfulness of the body starts from mindfulness of your breathing, because breathing is actually part of your body. It is actually a restricted, smaller area of your body. It's your tactile sensation around where your breath goes in and out. And then the sutra goes on to say, the Buddha says, be aware of your postures, whether you're walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. Okay, so continuing, I'll read this. And this is the awareness of daily activities. It says, and again, monks, a monk, when he is setting out or returning, is one acting in a clearly conscious way. When he's looking in front or looking around, he's clearly conscious. When he has bent in or stretched out his arm, he's clearly conscious, aware. When he's carrying his outer cloak, bowl, and robe, when he's eating, drinking, chewing, tasting, he's clearly aware. When he's obeying the calls of nature, going to the washroom, when he's walking, standing, okay, sitting, asleep, awake, talking, silent, he's one acting in a clearly conscious way. While he's thus diligent, ardent, self-resolute, and so forth, thus too does a monk develop mindfulness of body. So the Buddha outlines that throughout our day, whatever we do, we should know what we're doing at that moment. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You should know that you're doing it. So, in a sense, for spiritual practice, multitasking is not really recommended. But we know we have to somehow multitask in this world. But if you can, instead of doing 3 activities, you can reduce to 2, do 2. Okay. If you have 5, then reduce to 3 at the same time. Don't try to drive, text, sing, do all the things at the same time. Try to be aware and mindful of what you're doing at that moment. So if you're driving, right, then you keep your eyes on the road, and then you are aware of where your car is and where other cars are in relation to you. And we all know a good driver always looks at the rearview mirror and check the distance the car behind you or the car beside you, where they are at, just in case someone makes sudden movement, and then you can react, but you're mindful. So these parts of this mindfulness of the body is to prepare the mind so that it can actually becomes calmer, and then more unified. Continuing. And then the Buddha starts to talk about the mindfulness of parts, body parts, anatomical parts, and the impurities or organs inside these parts. So he says, and again, monks, a monk reflects precisely on this body itself, encased as it is in skin and full of various impurities, from the soles of the feet up and from the crown of the head down. that there is connected with this body hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, membranes, spleen, lungs, intestines, mesentery, stomach, excrement, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, serum, saliva, mucus, synovic fluid, urine. All these things are inside us all the time. So, when we apply this in meditation, whether you are standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, you actually observe your body with your mind. And then you observe from the top of your head to the bottom, to the soles of your feet. And this, if you come to our meditation retreat on Saturday, you will get to do an entire day of this. Or after I finish the lecture, we'll go through some easy yet effective mindfulness of the body exercises. Okay, so here it outlines like body parts. So we can actually, well, let's go continue with this, and I'll show you. I don't know if I show you the body parts the photos yet, but I'll show you that later. Okay, so the sutra continues, and it's the Buddha is trying to tell us what is this body. How should we understand this body? He says it is as if there were a double-mouthed provision bag. A bag has two, an in and an out, that was full of various kinds of grain, such as hill paddy, kidney beans, sesame, rice. And a keen-eyed man pouring them out might reflect, that's hill paddy, that's kidney bean, that's rice. So it's saying that in the same way, a monk reflects precisely on this body itself, encased as it is in skin and full of various impurities, from the top of the head, crown of the head, to the soles of the feet. Okay, so he practiced mindfulness in that way. So there's a reason why our mind needs to be in this body, because in order to understand impermanence, in order to understand the law of the universe, what better tool, what better object to observe than this body? Because here, within this body, contains the truth of impermanence, of the nature of suffering, of imperfection of this body, and non-self, and also impurity. So we need to train our mind to dwell, reside on the body. Because if you think about it, beyond this body, everything we see in the world, it's relative, it's subjective. Everything we see outside, it's subjected to what? Our emotion at that moment. There is no absolute, there's no objectivity in our perception of the outside. And if you don't train your mind, even when you look at your inside, you still don't have objectivity. And that's what we need to develop. Be able to, with an equanimous mind, observe the body, reside on the body, and understand that it is what it is. And that's how we reduce our suffering. Okay, and then, so the Buddha doesn't stop here. He goes even more. Now, I want to show you one way of how we can visualize our body. Now, I didn't want to put the one on the skin because that would be putting a naked body right up there. You all know your body, so you can actually, with your mind's eye, when you do the exercise, and you just visualize or contemplate, identify, okay, I'm going to recite my mind right here, observe this area, the head, neck, just goes through your body, observing. And then when your body is observing your hand, your left hand, it's not observing your right hand. You understand what I'm saying? You need to be able to train your body to observe the part of your body that you want to observe. And when you do it enough, and you scan your body enough, you can actually take your entire body as a whole. Your mind is aware of your body from top to bottom as a whole. Front and back, everything. It's like you are fully aware of this, fully identifying this body, and understanding and associating our understanding of this body with impermanence, suffering, non-self, and impurity. Okay, so the other is bone. Observe the bone. We all have bone. And then, can we observe the bone? Can we observe the skin? Can we observe our muscles, the ligaments? Right? And then this is actually part of the practice, meditation of mindfulness that we do. Okay, so the sutra continues. It says, now he moves on, the Buddha starts talking about the mindfulness of elements. And again, monks, a monk reflects on this body itself according to how it is placed or disposed in respect of the elements. Thinking. In this body, there is the element of extension, of cohesion, of radiation, of motion. Okay, so this is actually referring to earth. Extension would be earth. Cohesion would be water. And then radiation is fire, and motion will be air. This translation that I'm using, they chose to translate it in that way. It's actually the simpler way and the most common way of translating this will be earth, water, fire, and air. So, continues here. Monks, it is as if a skilled cattle butcher or his apprentice, having slaughtered a cow, might sit at the crossroads displaying its carcasses. Even so, monks, does a monk reflect on this body itself according to how it is placed or disposed in respect of the elements, thinking, here is the earth, here is the water, here is fire, here is air. So basically, when you separate your body into these four elements, then you cannot say that earth is the body. No. Earth alone is not the body. Water alone is not the body. Fire element alone is not the body. Nor the air element alone is the body. It's a mixture of these four. So every single cell, every single particle, and even every single atom of our body has four elements. Okay, so, and that's why I want to show you this. You have this is an atom, and this will be the nucleus, and this is the electron, okay, and then within the nucleus you have the proton and the neutron, right? And then, so what is Earth? in this. Earth is basically the atomic mass. The nucleus and the electron, the mass, that's the Earth part, right? And then what is the water element? Water means cohesion. Cohesion. That means that when the electrons, they move, they spin around the nucleus, that bond that binds the nucleus to the electron to the nucleus, that is water, the cohesion aspect of this atom. And then fire is when the electron, they spin around and they create energy. And energy part is the fire. And last but not least, air. The motion of the electrons moving, that's air. Okay, so now that will be 4 elements in one atom, right? So this is a picture of with a quantum microscope. It looks at energy only, okay? And then so you see like balls of energy in every atom. In meditation, you literally, when you scan your body enough, and then your mind calms down and it achieves unity or concentration, your perception of this body is nothing more than dots of light, dots of energy. It's no longer the feature, the face, the nose, the beautiful face, the beautiful arm, the beautiful hand that you think you see when you look at yourself in the mirror. You're just energy. So how beautiful is that? Well, it's just energy. And then the Buddha would ask the monks to contemplate. So, observe the earth within you and then the earth outside. Are they the same or not? Yes, they are the same. Earth, water, fire, air. Internally, it's the same as externally. So where is the beauty? Where is the self? Where is it? Where is this identity, personality? Where is it? It's untenable. Yeah. So that's why this mindfulness of the body, the Buddha first starts from the anatomical parts and then moves into the elements and now move into something else, even every time deeper and stronger. Okay. This part is called the 9 cemetery contemplations. Okay. And the sutra reads, and again, monks, it is as if a monk might see, thrown aside in a cemetery, a body that had been dead for 1 day, or for 2 days, or for 3 days, swollen, discolored, decomposing. So he focuses on this body itself, thinking, this body too is of a similar nature, a similar constitution. It has not got past that state of things. While he is thus diligent, ardent, self-resolute, so and so forth, thus too, monks, does a monk develop mindfulness of body. Okay, so he starts contemplating on a decomposing body. Now, in ancient India, when someone passes away, they will wrap the person in fabric, textile, and then they will take the body to a place and just leave it there to decompose, and leave it there for animals to eat, and then it's almost like returning to earth. Okay, And during the Buddha's time, the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, they will go to the cemetery and they will just sit in meditation beside a decomposing body, observing how this body decomposes. But why? There's a reason why. Now this part, this aspect of the mindfulness of body is basically, it's a contemplation of mortality, our own mortality. Okay? And then, so that we don't become attached to this existence. Yeah. Now, from the monastic point of view, monks and nuns, we do practice these contemplations like one by one, and it really visualizes. Okay? Like we imagine as if we are seeing with our own eyes. Okay? And then why? Because by observing this, your sensual desires will reduce and even diminish. Okay, but this is not a recommended practice for lay people. Okay, so I'm just gonna just tell you what it is, and we just get through it. You know, this is like the darker side of the mindfulness of the body. Okay, and dark in the sense that if you are still somehow attached to the mundane way, which is, you know, the 3 levels of teaching, the for better life, yeah, it's okay. You know, okay, impurity, I know, I shouldn't be attached to my body, and that's good enough. But if you really want to deepen your level to that you can actually let go of your attachment to this body and to the beauty of this body or this attachment to this existence, then you have to do more. Yeah. So the 9 cemetery contemplations are, you contemplate that a corpse becomes bloated, becoming bloated. It starts to, the gas, starts to inflate the body. And then second is turning blue. Third, decaying, decomposing. 4, the mess of blood starts to ooze out. 5, the discharges from the 7 orifices, and then the flesh is rotting. And number 6 is devoured by birds and beasts, come and they eat. Right? And then 7 is dismembering, because it decomposes so much that the bones, it falls off, there's no ligament, there's nothing holding, and then everything starts dismembering. And then number 8 is a heap of bones, just bones, like that. And number 9 is being burnt and returning to dust. Okay, these are the 9 cemetery contemplations, which are meant specifically for monastic practice. Okay, but I need to explain that to you so that we can move on. Okay. So, when we practice the mindfulness of the body, right? The more we practice, the more we scan, whether we scan the anatomical parts, whether we contemplate on mortality, whether we contemplate the 4 elements, or during this practice, what happens? First, our sensory desires or sensual desires begin to decrease. During meditation. Okay. Ill will, anger, discomfort, discontentment, all these emotions start fading away. These are called the 5 hindrances that obstruct wisdom. Okay. Number 3, sloth and torpor. It means that you get sleepy, you get like, what am I doing this time up here, I want to get out of here. Like these kind of thoughts, these kind of sensations, like this. And restlessness is when you're agitated, you're thinking about yesterday or past, you're thinking about the future, you're not here right now. And number 5 is what the heck am I here? What am I doing? What am I contemplating on this body for? The doubt on the technique. The doubt on why am I doing this? What's the purpose of this? Like all these things. These are the 5 things that might arise in your mind during the process. But as you practice more and more and more, these 5 things starts to fade away. And then, as I mentioned in the last class, when the 5 hindrances or obstructions start fading away, what factors starts emerging? Factors of enlightenment. The strength, the purity of the mind starts to emerge. Okay. So, when the mind starts to unify, focus, purify, it can enter into states of meditation. And it's very important to go through them, just so you know. These are states that you can achieve during meditation. It's called the first jhana. Okay? And again, monks. A monk aloof from pleasures of the senses, aloof from unskilled states of mind, enters on and abides in the first meditation, first state of absorption. And in the text it says the first jhana, which is accompanied by initial thought and discursive thought, is born of aloofness and is rapturous and joyful. He drenches, saturates, permeates, suffuses this very body with the rapture and joy that are born of aloofness. There is no part of his whole body that is not suffused with the rapture and joy that are born of aloofness. Now, this aloofness, it can be also translated as seclusion. Renouncing what is the mundane and completely like connecting with the transcendent. Because this is talking about the joy of meditation. That joy that is internally arising, that can fill your entire body, and that no part of this body does not feel rapture and joy. Right? Now, this first jhana state, it's known as the bodily joy. The sensation, the bodily sensation of that joy, it's transcendent. Yeah. If you have a taste of it, even just once, you will never forget. Yeah. It's the joy arising out of the practice of mindfulness of the body. Okay. So there's the Buddha explained that, but then for the monks that still have not achieved first jhana, how does he explain this? So he has an analogy. Okay, he says, monks, as a skilled bath attendant or his apprentice, having sprinkled bath powder into a bronze vessel, might knead it while repeatedly sprinkling it with water until the bowl of lather had taken up moisture, was drenched with moisture, suffused with moisture inside and out, but without any oozing, right? Like, you know how you mix the bath powder, or you mix something, or flour with water, and then at the beginning you have these little balls, right? And then you just keep adding water, and you just keep doing that, until the entire mass, everything has moisture in it, and it's evenly moist, like that. So even so, does a monk drench, saturate, permeate, suffuse this very body with the rapture and joy that are born of aloofness. There is no part of his whole body that is not suffused with the rapture and joy that are born of aloofness. While he is thus diligent, ardent, self-resolute, so forth, thus too, monk, does a monk develop mindfulness of body. Okay, so we're definitely not talking about a mundane sensation. This is beyond that of eating chocolate. Okay, if you like chocolate, you eat chocolate, that sensation. First, you feel it right here, your taste buds, right? And then your mind has a loop, and then you get, I like this. This is good. And then you start, you feel that instant gratification right there. But it's measured, it's restricted to your taste bud. If you hear something, wow, you're delighted, music, oh, you love this music, you enjoy this music, but it's just hearing. Visually, it's not all around. But this jhana experience, it's from every single cell of your body, from the top, the crown of your head, to the soles of your feet, you feel this bodily joy. A pleasant sensation that is transcendent throughout. That joy. Okay. And then, but it doesn't stop there. Because at this point, there's still thought process going on. There's the vitaka and vichara. Okay? There's still, your mind is still focusing on the body, and then it's aware, and it's still making an effort. There's still a thought process. But what happens into the second jhana? So the second jhana, it says, and again, monks, a monk, by allaying initial thought and discursive thought, like vitaka and vichara disappear. With the mind subjectively tranquilized and fixed on one point, enters on and abides in the second jhana, which is devoid of vitaka and vichara. Okay, here the translation they use is initial thought and discursive thought. Another translation to vitaka and vichara is thought and examination. Even that fades away. Your mind and body is just one. There's no thought or examination. It's just one, unified. Okay? Is born of concentration, is rapturous and joyful. Now this rapturous and joyful is pointing out to the mind also. So in the first jhana, it's the body feeling the joy throughout, meditative joy throughout the body. And in the second jhana, it's the mind and the body together, feeling that rapture and joy. He drenches, saturates, permeates, suffuses this very body with the rapture and joy that are born of concentration. There's no part of his body, his whole body, that is not suffused with the rapture and joy that are born of concentration. That's the second jhana. So, and then the Buddha has analogy for this jhana. It is like a pool of water with water swelling up within it, but which has no inlet for water from the east, west, northern or southern side. And even if the god or devas, that's what it means, celestial being, does not send down showers upon it from time to time, yet the current of cool water having welled up from that pool will drench, saturate, permeate, suffuse that pool with cool water. So it's talking about the mental state, that spring of cool water from the mind, that soothing rapture and joy of the mind. And even the mind, it's filled with this. Even so, monks, does a monk drench, saturate, permeate, suffuse this very body with the rapture and joy that are born of concentration. There is no part of his whole body that is not suffused with the rapture and joy that are born of concentration. That's the second jhana. So it's not like first jhana and second jhana is like they're connected. You get to the first, and if you balance your mind, you work your mind, you train your mind right, it just continues the process. Bodily rapture and joy to mental rapture and joy. Okay, so let's go to the third jhana, right? There are 4 jhanas, so we have talked about the 2. Now let's go to the third. And again, monks, a monk, by the fading out of rapture, dwells with equanimity, attentive and clearly conscious, and experiences in his person that joy of which the noble ones say, joyful lives he who has equanimity and is mindful, and he enters on and abides in the third meditation, third jhana. This means that at this stage, the joy and rapture fade away, but the body and mind remains on that state of equanimity. He drenches, saturates, permeates, suffuses this very body with a joy that has no rapture. There's no part of his whole body that is not suffused with the joy that has no rapture. It's almost like you can even translate it. It's a joy that has no attachment. The mind, one with the body, having gone through the bodily joy and rapture, mental bodily joy and bodily joy and rapture, and this joy and rapture disappears. And the mind is just one with the body. It's right there, unified. So what's the analogy for that? As in a pond of white or red or blue lotuses. Some white or red or blue lotuses are born in the water, grow up in the water, never rising above the surface, but flourishing beneath it, and from their roots to the tip are drenched, saturated, permeated, suffused by cool water. Even so, monks, does a monk drench, saturate, permeate, suffuse this very body with the joy that has no rapture. There is no part of his whole body that is not suffused with the joy that has no rapture. While he is thus diligent, ardent, self-resolute, thus too does a monk develop mindfulness of body. In this state of the third jhana, one does not feel the body as a body of obstruction. Because usually our perception of this body is like it's heavy, it has weight, it's sluggish, it doesn't go through, it's a mass. When you enter into the third jhana, joy and rapture fade away, and then and your mind is with the body, but the body is no longer the same. It doesn't give you the same sensation anymore. You don't feel that heaviness. Everything disappears. Yeah. But all I can say is, once you experience it, you will know how good it feels. But these are attainable states when one practices the mindfulness of body. Yeah. When we talk about spirituality, it is to be able to access these kind of knowledges through experience. Okay. And so we still have one more jhana to go through, the fourth jhana. And again, monks. A monk, by getting rid of joy and by getting rid of anguish, by the going down of his former pleasures and sorrows, enters on and abides in the fourth jhana, which has neither anguish nor joy, and which is entirely purified by equanimity and mindfulness. He, having suffused his very body with a mind that is utterly pure, utterly clean, comes to be sitting down. There's no part of his whole body that is not suffused by a mind that is utterly pure, utterly clean. Yeah. So these four jhana states are very important in the attainment of enlightenment. Okay, the Buddha, when he was 5 years old, he was able to enter into the first jhana at 5 years old because he remembered his jhanic experience from past lives. All he needed to do was find a secluded place under a tree. He sat down, crossed his legs, focused his mind on his body, and then he accessed the first jhana. 5 years old. So, if we are here and we can say, if a 5-year-old can do it, so can we. Right? Right? Right. So, the analogy of the fourth jhana experience. It is as if a man might be sitting down who had clothed himself, including his head, with a white cloth. There will be no part of his whole body not covered by the white cloth. Even so, monks, a monk having suffused his very body with a mind that is utterly pure, utterly clean, comes to be sitting down. There's no part of this whole body that is not suffused by a mind that is utterly pure, utterly clean. While he is thus vigilant, ardent, self-resolute. This is the same formula that repeats itself. Those memories and aspirations that are worldly are got rid of. Like basically, mundane thoughts, concerns, desires, ill will does not arise at this stage. Has no place. By getting rid of them, the mind itself is inwardly settled, calmed, focused, concentrated. Thus too, monks, does a monk develop mindfulness of body. Okay, so the question we ask ourselves is, can everyone in this lifetime achieve 1 or 4 jhanas? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But if one trains the mind life after lifetimes, yes. So if you practice mindfulness of body, and I've seen it on lay people, and we have students from Argentina or Brazil, who are able, with our instructions and the right environment, and go, in retreat, you guys will have your chance on Saturday and Sunday. They are able to access, at least not first jhana, but the taste of that joy. It's almost like the joy begins, but it doesn't permeate through the body yet, but they already feel what it is. Because the signs of meditation, nimitta, arise. The signs of meditation are sensation you feel within your body when your mind is rightly concentrated. Yeah. You're focusing it, you're training it right. And then when you feel that joy, you compare that with the instant gratification joy of sensual or sensory pleasures, it's beyond compare. That kind of joy. Joy of meditation is beyond compare. Okay, so now the Buddha is very skillful in giving analogies, metaphors. So he goes on in this sutra and continues with different similes, and I want to go through them. Okay, at least read through them. These are two similes. One is streams in the ocean, and the other one is called heavy stone in clay. Okay. Monks, those skilled states that are connected with knowledge are in anyone in whom mindfulness of body has been developed and made much of. As monks, those streams that flow down to the ocean are in anyone in whom the great ocean has been suffused by thought. Even so, those skilled states that are connected with knowledge are in anyone in whom mindfulness of body has been developed and made much of. So he's comparing this mindfulness of body practice, when it's fully developed and made much of, then it's almost like a stream that flows into the ocean. Stream flows only to the ocean, nowhere else. Do you understand what I'm saying? It flows all through to the ocean. Basically, this technique, what the Buddha said about the mindfulness of the body, is what it is. You practice it, and you continue. You're persevering, and you're persistent. You persevere. You're consistent in your practice every day, and then your mind starts to be trained, and it starts to connect with the idea, the truth of impermanence, suffering, non-self, and impurity. And then where is it flowing? Towards the ocean. It's going to get there. Yeah. And so the Buddha says, monks, Mara. Mara is a heavenly being from the desire realm. Okay. And Mara is a heavenly being who does not like to see human beings become enlightened. Because once we become enlightened, we cannot become his subordinates. He rather, human being, remain in the realm of desire. Okay. So in the Buddhist sense, Mara is not demon, like from hell. No. Mara is actually a heavenly being in the desire realm. And desire realm means that he is fully accepting and lives within this desire. And he does not want human being practitioners to liberate. So you can understand Mara as twofold. Real Mara, the heavenly being that come and tempt you, or Mara could be the inner thoughts of temptation. So Mara gains access. That means that he can gain access to whom? Who can he influence? And he says, Mara gains access to whatever monks there is in whom mindfulness of body has not been developed, not been made much of. What does that mean? It means Mara can only influence those without practice of mindfulness of the body. And that's why people say, oh, I'm so weak, I'm so weak, I'm easily influenced. Why? Because he has not trained in the mindfulness of the body. Okay. So, it is as though a man were to throw a heavy round stone into a mound of moist clay. What do you think, monks? Would that heavy round stone gain access to that mound of moist clay? Yes, venerable sir, reverend sir. It means that if you have moist clay and then you throw a heavy round stone into it, it will stick right in. That sticky, dirty feeling. When one does not practice mindfulness of body, sensory pleasures, sensual pleasures, as they arise, you just stick to it. It's like you're like that heavy round stone inside of moist clay, like sinking in, all sticky. You cannot get out of. Okay, so, and then the Buddha has simile of the dry stick and fire stick. Okay. I won't go through every one of them because essentially it's just saying that Mara can only affect those who have not developed mindfulness of the body. Mara cannot affect those who have developed. Okay? Or vice versa, like that. It's just giving you examples. So here, but at least I'll read through the subtitles. He said there's a dry stick and fire stick. Okay, and then the simile of the empty water pot and unload water. Light bowl of thread against a solid wood door panel. Can you move it by throwing a light bowl of thread? No, you cannot move it. Wet stick and fire stick. So usually Buddha's analogy is saying, there's A and no B, and there is A, there's no B. Like, he uses the counter arguments. Yeah. And then full water pot and unload the water, same thing. Full water pot rocked by strong man. A tank, loosened dike, and a water spill. Yeah. Okay, so and then here, and in the last of the simile, the Buddha said, even so, monks, anyone in whom mindfulness of body has been developed and made much of, turns his mind to this or that realization through super knowledge of a thing that may be realized through super knowledge, and achieves that ability as a witness now, here, or here and now. whatever may be the plane. Monks, it is as though at a crossroad on level ground, a chariot were standing harnessed with thoroughbreds, the goad hanging ready, and a skilled groom, a charioteer of horses to be tamed. Having mounted it, having taken the reins in his left hand and the goad in his right, were to drive up and down as he liked. Even so, monks, anyone whomsoever in whom mindfulness of body has been developed and made much of, turns his mind to this and that realization through superknowledge of a thing that may be realized through superknowledge and achieves ability as a witness here and now, whatever may be the plane. Like, basically, he's saying that if you train your mind, you are like that great skilled charioteer gets on the chariot, and then you just drive your way all the way to enlightenment. Okay. So, what are the advantages of practicing mindfulness of the body? Okay, so we have talked about the 4 jhanas. And throughout the practice of the postures, mindfulness of the breathing, mindfulness of sitting, walking, standing, lying down, and in connecting with the idea of impermanence, suffering, non-self, and impurity, one's suffering will start to get reduced. One's clinging to suffering is no longer in the same way as before. Okay. But that's when you are in the process. And then the Buddha now begins to talk about the 10 advantages. Okay, when you actually achieve a certain level of mindfulness of body, what can you do? What are the advantages? And he said, monks, these 10 advantages are to be expected from pursuing mindfulness of body, developing it, making much of it, making it a vehicle, making it a foundation, practicing it, increasing it, and fully undertaking it. What 10? Number 1. He is one who overcomes dislike and liking, or unpleasant and pleasant sensations. He can overcome the unpleasant and the pleasant. The unpleasant does not overcome him. He fares along constantly conquering any unpleasant and pleasant that have arisen. Basically, he can equanimously deal with pleasant and unpleasant sensation. Number 2. So, in a way that pleasant sensation, when they arise, what do? We like it. So that's, what is that? Desire. Unpleasant sensation arise, what do? Oh, ill will. So one who practices mindfulness of body, when pleasant sensation arises, pleasant sensation. When unpleasant sensation arises, unpleasant sensation. That's all. Aware, but not affected. The mind, the state of the mind, the quality of the mind, the purity of the mind is not affected by the sensations. Because sensations happen. Because we are in samsara. Sensations happen. Number 2. He is one who overcomes fear and dread. And fear and dread do not overcome him. He fares along constantly, conquering any fear and dread that had risen. We have many fears. Since we are born till we are about to die, we are always experiencing fear, insecurity. And one or the other. And every one of us, we have our own thing, depending on our own personalities. But usually, you notice, the more you fear, the more it happens. It's not like you think about the fear and the fear goes away. No. In fact, sometimes we wield our own destiny. I hope this doesn't happen tomorrow. I hope this doesn't happen next week. And guess what? Murphy's Law. What meant to happen shall happen. So who willed it? These fears that we have. And the ultimate fear, you know what it is? The fear of the expiration date. Fear of death. Fear of... Many people say, you know, I'm not afraid of death itself. Death is... No, it's not. I'm just afraid of aging and sickness. Death is easy. The process to death is hard. And that's where we observe the body and then we realize what truth? The right visions of what? Impermanence, suffering, non-self, and impurity. So, instead of fighting, rejecting aging and sickness and the process of dying, why not observe it, understand it, and if you can, embrace it? Because these are the tools that we use in order to become enlightened. Easily said. So these fears, right? Fears and dread. But if you practice mindfulness in the body and you start training your mind to dwell on your body and just on the body, then things become easier. These are not words meant to be memorized. These are words that are meant to be practiced and experienced in actual meditation. Okay, so third advantage. He's one who bears, who can tolerate, bears, okay, cold, heat, hunger, thirst, the touch of godfly, okay, mosquito, wind and sun, creeping things, insects, ways of speech that are irksome, unwelcome. He's of a character to tolerate, persevere bodily feelings which arise that are painful, acute, sharp, shooting, disagreeable, miserable, deadly. Basically, one who is skilled in mindfulness of body can handle anything that happens to his body and elements, outside elements that influence his body, whether it's hot, cold, and all these things, and maintain equanimous in his mind. Because he's no longer affected by the outside circumstances. Okay, the outside elements. Number 4, he is one who at will, without trouble, without difficulty, acquires the 4 jhanas that are of the purest mentality, abiding in ease here and now. Basically, the 4th is he can easily access the 4 states of jhana, in his practice. Number 5. He experiences the various forms of psychic power. Having been one, he is manyfold. Having been manyfold, he is one. Manifest or invisible, he goes unhindered through a wall, a rampart, a mountain, as if through air. He plunges into the ground and shoots up again as if in water. He walks upon the water without parting it, as if on the ground. See, not even parting it. Huh? Sitting cross-legged, he travels through the air like a bird on the wing. With his hands, he rubs and strokes this moon and sun, although as though they are of such mighty power and majesty. And even as far as the Brahma world, he has power in respect of his person. This is talking about the way that it's called a supernormal ability, where one can turn into different elements of earth, water, fire, and air. Okay. And one can be in many places at the same time, or it can be just in one place. Yeah. And these are what we call supernormal abilities that are developed in order to help sentient beings, to help others. Yeah. And so, starting from number 5, these start to talk about like real, concrete, supernormal powers. Number 6, by the purified Deva-like. Deva means celestial, heaven, heavenly, like hearing, which surpasses that of man. He hears both kinds of sounds, Deva-like ones and human ones, whether they are far or near. That means that this is the, it's called, clairvoyance is for thoughts. Clairaudience, it's hearing. You can hear far. And this is actually in mindfulness or meditation. When you practice mindfulness meditation, one of the stages that you go through is that you can actually apply that energy and you can actually hear the heartbeat of other people, of the room, not just your own heartbeat. Yeah, like you can hear sounds that normally you cannot hear. Even people speaking far away, you can hear these sounds. Why? Because the mind, when it's one with the body, it has no obstructions. Yeah. And let's go to number. This is called the Deva. Deva hearing. Okay. The clear audience. Number 7. He comprehends by mind the minds of other beings, of other individuals. So that he comprehends a mind that is full of attachment, aversion, confusion. That is full of attachment, aversion, confusion. A mind that is without attachment, aversion, confusion. He knows. He can, this is clairvoyance. He can read the mind of others as they are. Not adding anything to it, just being able to listen to it and capture it. And then, so this mind, when one through mindfulness of the body can actually achieve this comprehension of other people's mind. And sometimes in the sutras, they will say that it's almost like someone is so objectively body and mind unified, when they see others, they are almost like a mirror they are just a reflection of the other person's state of mind. So, and because they are not judging, they are not discriminating, they are just observing, and so they understand what the other person is going through. Whether that mind has desire, has aversion, has arrogance, has, you know, whatever state of mind it is on the other person, they can capture. Yeah. Okay, so like reading someone else's mind. Yeah. Capture someone else's mind. 8. He recollects, and now 8, 9, 10 are the most important. Oh, the other, what's it? I would say 5, 6, 7, not even Buddha's disciples during Buddha's time, or even nowadays, monastics, not everyone wants to develop the other 3. Supernormal power, you know, to be at many places at the same time, or, you know, to be flying here and there. No, that's not so desirable. Sometimes it's too troublesome. Okay, but the last 3, 8, 9, and 10 are very important. Why? And I'll explain to you why. He recollects manyfold former lives, habitations, you know, where he lived, former lives. That is to say, 1 birth, 2 birth, and many, many births. He recollects former habitation or circumstances in all their modes and details. Like literally, once when they achieve mindfulness of the body, they start getting flashbacks of their past lives. Now, in the case of fully practiced and achieved to fruition, they see it as a whole picture, like it's a continuous picture of past lives. Now when we practice, usually meditation, and then you start getting these images, and then these images will connect to say certain things that you have done this lifetime that are related. And usually there are painful experiences. Usually there are mistakes that we make over and over again. Something like that. So one can recollect oneself so many lifetimes. And this is the same process that the Buddha went through when he attained his enlightenment. The first thing was he was able to recollect all his past lives. Okay. So imagine if one recollects all the past lives, that means that one can see in detail what I did right and what I did wrong in many, many lifetimes. So one has a true direct experience, direct knowledge of what? Cause and effect. One's own cause and effect. Okay. And number 9, with a purified Deva vision, surpassing that of man, he beholds beings as they pass hence and come to be. He comprehends that beings are mean, excellent, fair, foul, in a good born, in a bad born, according to the consequences of deeds. Basically, he can see lives of others, other people's past lives. That's also one of the advantages of mindfulness of the body, if practiced to fruition. Number 10, which is the most important, by the destruction of the cankers, it means afflictions, defilements, by the destruction of greed, hatred, and ignorance, having realized here and now his own super knowledge, the freedom of mind, and the freedom through intuitive wisdom that are cankerless or afflictionless, defilementless, entering thereon, he abides therein. He enters the state of nirvana. Okay, so these are the 10 advantages. Now, these 10 advantages are right up here. There's no more beyond this. It's right up there. And we are right down there, right? But surely if we practice, we will start coming up. But if we never practice mindfulness of the body, these are nothing more than words of the Buddha. They will not be translated into experiences. So, I did a 6 supernormal abilities, explanation of that with the Chinese. This I will give you the PDF, so don't need to memorize it. So, how does it end? The sutra? It's almost ending, okay? Monks, these 10 advantages are to be expected from pursuing mindfulness of body, developing it, making much of it, making it a vehicle, making it a foundation, practicing it, increasing it, and fully undertaking it. Thus spoke the Lord, the Buddha, delighted. These monks rejoice in what the Lord has said. And we too shall rejoice in what the Buddha has said. So we say, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So that's the end of the Majjhima Nikaya 119. Kaya Gata Sati Sutta. Okay. I have another translation that is probably easier to read. I noticed that the person probably that did the translation was British. So there are a lot of British spellings, right? And then words that are used more by the British than Canadians or American. Yeah. Anyhow, so right now it's 8:25. I've spoken for 1 hour and 25 minutes. And so this is a gist, a summary of what mindfulness of body is. We need to practice it. Okay, so Saturday is in English, Sunday is in Chinese. But I can tell you, it doesn't matter. You come on Saturday and you can also come on Sunday. Because even though it's Chinese, I'm just repeating the same thing as I already did in the English, right? But to practice in this environment, in such a great center, with a great energy, with great people, you might be able to start getting a taste of that joy of meditation. So I encourage you to come both days. Okay. Yes. Yes. Because the instruction, I won't be talking so much. I will be doing guided meditation, which I'll be doing in a few minutes. And I'll guide and let you work on it. So that will still be the same thing for Saturday and Sunday. But the difference is, we start from 9 o'clock starts, and then we end at 5. So we're gonna have walking. We will do walking meditation, standing meditation, sitting meditation, right? Yeah, but no sleeping or lying down meditation this time. Yeah.
Upstairs?
Yes, upstairs. Yeah. And if upstairs is full, then we open up downstairs.
No, there's the back office.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Or we can open up the lawns, like anywhere in the center you can practice. Okay. So any questions? Feel free to ask questions.
We know it all.
Okay, so you realize, yeah.
Almost. Practice. practice. Practice.
even the mindfulness of body can give you benefits of three kinds. Okay, mindfulness of body at the level of bettering your life, you know, it works because if you're mindful of your body, then whatever arises around you, then all you need to do is come back to your body, and then you're at ease. You don't get affected. Usually when other people are outside circumstances that are unpleasant and they arise, what do? Our mind seek out. We go out. We're not here. We are outside. We're like there, like this, just trying to, and we think we are solving problem, but no. We are no longer mindful of who we are or where we are. Okay? So
Distracted.
Yes.
By this outside.
Yes, because we think that's real. That matters. No,
No.
it doesn't. What really matters is where you are and the state of mind that you want. But you need to train yourself. You know, it's like this. You know how hard it is to train the mind? It's like training a dog not to be affected when there's food in front of him. You know, our dog, Vidya, in Brazil, he's like this, happy-go-lucky. When you put food in front of him, you ding, like this. He shifts mode. And that's the way we treat with every stimulus around us. Especially when people are mean to us, we give them control to our emotions. And we allow them, we allow ourselves to go through the things that they want us to go through. Imagine, you know, just like Vidya, seeing food, but he already ate. Then he just look at the food and go, no. No, but still he can't do it, okay? He still can't do it. But as human beings, when we train our mind, when there's something pleasant or unpleasant happens, can we train ourselves to just remain mindful and just observe that objectively? Shouldn't we? And if we do that, what happens? The mind is no longer pulled and pushed and pulled by someone else. Who has control? Oneself. Okay, this is at a level, mundane level. If you practice mindfulness of the body enough, then your state of mind every day is like, people are going to ask you, so how are you doing? Fine. Like yesterday was fine. Like the day before was fine. It's just fine. It's okay. I'm here. I'm enjoying. I am mindful of every moment, every breath, every here and now. How can it go wrong? Yes, there's pain in the body. Okay, there's pain. I understand there's pain, but pain does not control me. Oh, I understand that there is worry. Okay, let go. Worrying is not going to solve the problem. Be mindful of the body. Be mindful of the breathing. And then our suffering, our attachment to suffering becomes to let go. We learn to let go of suffering. Because oftentimes we say we don't want to suffer, but we do everything possible to suffer. It's like a habit. In order to break the habit, you need to train the mind to be aware. here, here and now, right here, with your body. That's why the mindfulness of body is the first in the 37 factors of enlightenment, but really it is the most important. It is the cornerstone. It is the foundation of the 37 factors. Now, if you can practice mindfulness of body, and you can be here and now, you can really observe the here and now, your suffering will lessen. Your joy will increase. Your inner peace will increase even more, will maintain. And then, when you see people suffering, then you can give them a helping hand. You can truly show them that there is another way of dealing with life, with your peace, with your joy, with your equanimity. If you're not well, how can you help someone else? If you can't swim, how can you save the drowning one? Yeah. So mindfulness of the body is the tool of a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva needs mindfulness of the body to be here and now and not be affected by circumstances. To be compassionate but not fall into agony and suffering or watching suffering. Yeah. Okay. Any questions?